Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parvajakracharya Astar Sata Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Gaur Premananda. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 17, Punishment and Reward of Kali, Text 4. Paprachcha Ratam Arudaha Kartasvara Parichadam Mega Gambiraya Vacha Samaropita Karmukaha Paprachta Ratamarudha Karta Swara Parichadam Mega Gambiraya Vacha Samaropita Karmuka Paprachta Ratam Arudha Krita Swara Parichadam Mega Gambiraya Vacha Samaropita Karmuka Paprachta Ratamarudha Karta Swara Parichadam Mega Gambiraya Vacha Samaropita Karmuka Samaropita Karmuka Pracharata Maruna Adasara Parichadam Yaya Miraya Vacham Samaropita Karmuka Pracharata Maruna Adasara Parichadam Vacham Papacharata Maruda Swaprichalam Yayamiraya Vacham Karmuka Papracharata Maruda Karta Sara Parichadam Maya Miraya Vacha Samaropita Karmaka. Vaishnavis. Papracharata Maruda Sara Parichadam Vacha Pracharana Marudha Kitasara Parichadam Mirayavacha Varopinayavaya Papracha inquired Ratam chariot Arudaha seated on Kartasvara gold Parichadam embossed with Mega cloud Gambiraya exonerating Vacha sound Samaropita well equipped Karmukaha arrows and bow. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Translation. Maharaj Parikshit, well equipped with arrows and bow, and seated on a gold embossed chariot, spoke to him, the Shudra, with a deep voice sounding like thunder. Purport. An administrative head, or king, like Maharaj Parikshit, with full majestic authority, well equipped with weapons to chastise miscreants, can challenge the agents of the age of Kali. Then only will it be possible to counteract the degraded age. And in the absence of such strong executive heads, there is always disruption of tranquility. The elected show bottle executive head, as representative of a degraded public, cannot be equaled with a strong king like Maharaj Parikshit. The dress or style of royal order does not count. It is one's actions which are counted. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Chaturvarnya Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhaga Shaha. He says, I have created this system of varnas, or occupational duties. And it is the different occupations, the different varnas, are to be distinguished by one's quality and one's work, not by one's birth in the family of a brahmana or kshatriya or whatever. So there are 4 varnas that are mentioned in the Vedic literature. There is the brahmana varna. It is composed of those who are the intellectual and spiritual leaders of society. They are compared to the brain of the society. Then there is the Kshatriya Varna, the Varna of those who are the executive heads of society, the military leaders, whose duty it is to uphold the religious principles in society and to protect the praja, the population, which includes not only the human population, but the animal population as well, especially the cows, as we've been hearing. Then there is the Vaishya Varna, those who generate the economic activity in society, who are responsible for producing the food, for producing the products that are necessary in society, and who engage in trade and finances and banking. And then there are the Sudras, who are not independently capable of carrying on the activities of the other Varnas, but they are meant to assist the other Varnas in their activities. So, as I said, the Brahmanas are compared to the head of society, the brain of the society. The Kshatriyas are like the arms, which are meant to protect and organize. And the Vaishyas are like the belly of the society, meant to provide energy that keeps the whole thing going. And the Shudras are considered to be like the legs of society that support the whole thing. So all the parts are necessary. And in a healthy society, they are guided by the brain of society in such a way that they can satisfy their material needs in the most simple, natural, and efficient way possible, while the whole body makes progress step by step on the path back to Godhead, back home, back to Godhead. That is the ideal society. And part of that society means having leaders like Maharaj Parikshit as the executive head, or the king. So even in the Western world, it was recognized that an ideal monarch is the best kind of ruler to have in society. If you go back to the time of the Greeks, they had Plato, who said that the ideal ruler would be a philosopher king. In other words, a ruler, a king with martial abilities, but with the correct philosophical understanding of the purpose of human life. So in Vedic society, the same principle was there. There should be some Rajarshi. That's composed of two words, Raja, king, and Rishi, sage. That is the ideal leader. So they would have proper spiritual knowledge. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Evam parampara praptam, imam rajarshayo viduhu. There is a system of disciplic succession where spiritual knowledge is coming down from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Rajarshis understood things in that way from the parampara system. So that is the ideal system. And such personalities in the Kshatriya order, like Maharaj Parikshit, their prime duty was to protect the human society, to protect those who are following the path of spiritual advancement, and to oppose those forces that are on the destructive or demoniac path of life. Krishna himself, when he comes, he often comes in the role of a Kshatriya, and he describes in Bhagavad Gita that his role is Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Dushkritam, to protect the sadhus and to destroy and control those who are on the demoniac path. So Maharaj Parikshit is showing these personal qualities here, that he's not sitting in the palace sending someone else out to do this duty. He's doing it himself. He's displaying the qualities of a true Kshatriya, and he's directly confronting the evildoer, this Shudra, who is the personification of Kali. So, in the modern age, we don't often see anything like that. I was looking over the history of England, and the last king of England that even appeared on a battlefield, to personally lead the troops in confronting the enemy was in 1748. It was King George II, who led an English army in Europe at the time. So Maharaj Parikshit was personally going out to do these things. And Srila Prabhupada mentions here the elected show bottle executive head as representative of a degraded public cannot be equal with a strong king like Maharaj Parikshit. So Srila Prabhupada often uses this term show bottle, and it comes from his experience as a druggist or a pharmacist and his life, before he fully took up the order of his spiritual master to preach Krishna consciousness in the Western world. He supported his family through his business as a pharmacist or a druggist. So, in the pharmacy shop during the early 20th century or the 19th century, they would have bottles where they would fill them up with colored water as a kind of an advertisement to people walking by on the street that yes, medicines are available here. But they wouldn't put the real medicine in the bottles. They would keep that in the shelves in the shop. But for displaying on the street, they would have what they call a show bottle full of colored water of different kinds. But that show bottle, if you say you had a disease, a cold or a flu, and you took the colored water from the show bottle, you wouldn't get cured. It's nothing. You have to take the real medicine. So Srila Prabhupada is saying here that these so-called leaders of today, these so-called executive heads of state, they are show bottle. They're not the real thing. And he would also say that about sannyasis. You can be show bottle sannyasi, you can be show bottle devotee, you can be. So we have to guard against these things that we aren't becoming just show bottle, giving the appearance of being a devotee of Krishna, giving the appearance of being some kind of leader in society. Uh, uh, as there was one popular song someone was telling me about. You should know what you are and what you ain't. So, if we, and Srila Prabhupada would often point this out, that even in the Western world, if we go back a few centuries, we would see that most of the countries were ruled by monarchs, kings, queens, and on paper, it's still true today. There are many countries that have what they call constitutional monarchs. Like in England, they have a queen, in Denmark, and so many different places. They have some king or queen. But, Srila Prabhupada said it's in name only. It's a show bottle position. They don't have any actual power. The parliament makes the laws. Maybe they sign the paper or something. So that is the situation today. There's a democracy. So it's a very imperfect system. But even in the democracy, they have to have some leader. And, they try to control the leader with some system of laws, so that they try to make some checks and balances, restrict the number of years you can serve in the position as leader. And, they try to say nobody is above the law, not even the leader. But what is the actual law? In the Vedic literature, we learn Dharman tu shakshat bhagavad pranitam. The actual law, the actual principles of life are established only by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And He can enforce those laws on everyone. Nobody is immune from the actual laws of God. So, Krishna is the supreme leader or executive head. Ishvara Parama Krishna. He is the supreme Ishvara or leader, the Ishvara Parama. And nobody can escape His laws or His justice. I think there was some BBT book put out some time ago, a collection of Srila Prabhupada's teachings. What was it called? Infallible Justice. So, in terms of the human laws, it may be possible for some so-called leader or executive head to avoid that. But nobody can evade the infallible justice of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, if the executive head is lined up with those eternal principles of Dharma, that have been established by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and is following that, then such a personality is on the right path. And Maharaj Parikshit is in that category. So the actual success of a society can be judged in the ultimate sense by how many of the souls of the people who are part of that society, how many souls are going back home, back to Godhead. Because that is the actual purpose of this whole universe that we're in. It actually has a purpose. Of course, many scientists today, they think we exist in an accidental universe. And in the 16th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes this mentality, asatyam apratishtam te jagat ahur anishwaram. There are people, Krishna says, who think this world has just appeared. There's no controller. There's no purpose to it. Just whatever we want to do, we can do. And we can figure it out. Democratically, we'll vote and decide what the purpose is. So that kind of understanding is a recipe for disaster. The kind of disaster that we see unfolding around us every day. But really, the universe is manifested for a purpose. It's to give the souls who have made the decision to try to enjoy independently from Krishna. It's meant to give them a choice to either continue to try to enjoy separately from Krishna and remain entangled in the cycle of birth and death. Janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha dosh anudarshanam. The intelligent person will see that yes, to remain entangled in the material energy in this material universe is to confront an eternal cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease again and again and again. So that is one choice. And the other choice is to prepare, to educate oneself, to qualify oneself, to get out of the cycle of birth and death and take part in Krishna's eternal spiritual pastimes on the spiritual level of reality. So that is the whole purpose of why this universe is here, why we have the human form of life. We're being given the chance to make that choice. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, we're learning that there were once whole civilizations that were based on these principles, where the leaders of human society, the intellectual leaders, the spiritual leaders, the political leaders, the cultural leaders, all understood this. And they were able to organize human society in such a way that those who were making the right choices, they were being protected and encouraged and supported in every possible way by the government, the educational system, the economic and financial system. Everything was organized to encourage that task. Tato Brahma Jigyasa. Now is the time to inquire about spiritual life. So the whole society was organized in that way. And the Kshatriyas, like Maharaj Parikshit, they fully understood that. Of course, now we're in a different situation. The so-called intellectual leaders of human society have a completely wrong idea about what the actual purpose of life in the universe is. The political leaders, they have a wrong understanding also. So we're trying to make progress in a Kali Yuga atmosphere, trying to spread the Sankirtan movement. And by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this can still spread through human society. And even though the present leaders have so many wrong understandings, this movement can still spread by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and through activities like the Ratha Yatra festival, which we're soon going to be celebrating. So I'll stop there. Any questions or comments? Apurva. I think he had his hand up first.
So, how can your particular field in the Bhaktivedanta Institute and dealing with the scientists, how can we impact, or in your preaching, a change of consciousness on the higher levels of world government or whatever?
So the question is, how can devotees who are engaged in the kind of service that I'm doing, like connected with Bhaktivedanta Institute, for example, how can they influence change in society and among the leading personalities in society who are guiding it. Of course, everything we are trying to do in the Krishna consciousness movement is in very beginning stages. But Srila Prabhupada, had a plan for spreading Krishna consciousness in this world, and his plan had many parts to it. The basic plan was to spread the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra by having Sankirtan, kirtan parties that go out in public and chant the holy names of the Lord and broadcast that message to the people. And he wanted temples established, so that people could come and hear the philosophy of Krishna consciousness and chant in the temples. And he wanted prasadam distribution, distribution of sacred food offered to the Lord. He wanted book distribution of books that explain the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. He wanted schools established. He wanted rural communities established based on the principles of Varna and Ashrama. And, he wanted ideas spread through society by, to the intellectuals and the scientists by, Bhaktivedanta Institute. So Srila Prabhupada established all of these programs, and he expected his followers down through the generations to continue to maintain and expand, these programs. And if we do that, we will find Krishna consciousness expanding throughout the world through all different segments of societies, and eventually influencing even the leaders of society. So, we can see small signs of that, happening as we make progress in different ways. So, also in the circle of devotees who are attempting to do this work through Bhaktivedanta Institute and their activities in different areas of scholarship, like Indology and Sanskrit studies and scientific work, other types of intellectual work. They're actually making some little bit of progress. And our BBT goes every year to conferences where our books are introduced to professors in different fields, and university libraries, purchase our books. So it's going on, but it's like everything else that we do in the Krishna consciousness movement. Like, for example, we may like that every restaurant in Los Angeles would be a prasadam vegetarian restaurant. That's our goal. We're a long way from it. But, we have our restaurant, and prasadam is being distributed through it and other venues. And as long as we continue to do it and continue to try to expand it, it will increase gradually. So our scientific work, with Bhaktivedanta Institute and other such programs, it's also in these beginning stages. But even in the beginning stages, we have some result. We have a foundation on which to build. But that's up to us. Whether, it's up to each generation of devotees who take part in this international society for Krishna consciousness, whether they are going to fulfill all the desires that Srila Prabhupada had to spread Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Are they going to keep the initiatives that he established alive? Are they going to continue developing them? Of course, it all depends ultimately on our being Krishna conscious and not being simply, as Srila Prabhupada said, show bottle. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.